Ah, hello, my fellow Americans. My name's Carl Lester Anthony Jr., and I've been running for president for the last 7 years, and of course, am running as an independent this year of 2024. And if I don't win this year, I'll be back in 2028, 2032, and forever until eventually we decide that a regular American needs to make the decisions possible to fix this place. So let's see what we got. As you may or may not know, this is my response to the recent State of the Union address by President Biden to open and to be fair. Biden gave a strong performance. He had a lot of powerful energy. Let's say that was him naturally, or maybe they gave him a few vitamins to feel energetic. But we'll talk about that as I go through my response to the statement of use. Also, secondarily, the Republican response was interesting. It was heartfelt. I understand what they were coming from. But I think as a political party, Americans are tired of heartfelt string tugging, and they want policy, they want solutions, and they want real ideas. And that's what I'm here to give you today. As Carl Anthony for President, Tony 2024. Check me out. Check out my YouTube's Call for President Anthony or Call Anthony for President. Simply Google me and you will find me looking wonderfully beautiful. So let's see what we got going on here. Just to give a quick understanding, I'm a 48-year-old man, soon to be 49, average worker making $60,000 a year. And I'm living the life all you guys are living, even though I'm okay. I am not able to buy a home yet, even though I've worked for 20 years. I have student loan debt that has yet to be canceled, but I did see Joe recently put it up, and I noticed that they do have the option, so I'm actually going to put in for that and see if Joe and them are really serious about forgiving my student loan debt also, because I've been paying taxes for the last 25 plus years as a worker. Why won't you? So let's see what we got going on here. So my statement of union response. Initially, you guys saw it. So I'm going to go through three different phases. My first phase is going to be the fitness situation with Joe. I'm going to talk about that, give you my opinion on the things I saw that made me concerned from a fitness perspective. You know, me, not going to take my shirt off, but I'm extremely fit. But we'll talk about Joe. So the second statement is the things I liked about what Joe said. And then my third section will be my dislikes with some solutions in between. And then my last section is what did he leave out of the conversation? So let's get started. To begin, the fitness scenario. One of the things that I noticed as he walked in the front door was shaking hands, talking to everyone. If you notice, there was a lady with glasses and a short, strong built gentleman in between them. I assume they were his security. But if you notice, everywhere he went, they was like, over here now, gotta go down here, move over here. Like he did not know where to go. They always had to tell him from beginning to end when he left it, hey, over here, man, over here, man. They had to like point him around, almost like he would be pointing around a pet. So I was very concerned that even though he was feisty, he still had to be told where to go, as though he's never seen a statement of the union, as though he wasn't there when Barack did it, as though he doesn't know the pomp and circumstance, as though he has not been in office for 50 plus years. Very concerning that a man who has seen this 1,000 times, go over here, buddy, go over here. That was the first thing, but not too big. Maybe it's a lot of people. He doesn't want to miss people, so they want to make sure he doesn't ignore anyone. The second thing I noted is the stuff that we all notice as he speaks. Maybe it's his age, maybe his linguistic skills are not as fantastic as they used to be, but he was mumbling through a lot of those things. Very concerning. But again, maybe it's a lot of words to read, it's a lot of things to think about. Let's just give him, hey, maybe Joe is just stumbling a little bit. Now, the one thing that did make me very concerned is when he talked about fixing our medical situation and negotiating the prescription drugs that Americans get. If you notice, he said, yeah, we can fly to Canada, we can fly to here, we can fly to Moscow. And he said, oops, not Moscow. You have been on Putin in this Ukraine thing since the beginning. You even started the speech with mentioning Ukraine, but yet, even still, because probably they have good medical care in Russia for people who have money, he mentioned going to Moscow to get new prescription drugs. So, this is the guy that's supposed to be your president. Lastly, now this just maybe wants to get a lot of speech. Maybe his older body is not taking in. Maybe he had a little cold. But I noticed that he had a nasty, wet cough. And I counted how many times? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 nasty, wet coughs, almost as though he had phlegm in his chest. Another concern about his fitness. So that's my fitness portion. We all know what our concern is. I'm 49, going on, well, 48, going on 49 in September. Don't you guys steal my identity. And Joe's 81, going on 82, soon to be 83, whatever else these ages are. And of course, Trump is, the same 3,000 years old, just a couple of years younger than Joe. They've been around a long time. That's my concern. I don't think they understand the average younger American's frustration with home availability, how expensive our homes are today, and what's really going on and affecting the average American and the average new young married couple, which is the majority and the future of America. So segment one is the things that I did like about what he had to say. Initially, he said a great phrase. He said, you can't only just love your country when you win. Of course, this was in reference to the January 6th scenario and Trump's attitude because he's a fairly pouty elderly man who doesn't handle losing well. Well, Joe said, look, you got to love your country, win or lose, and I'm going to give Joe that 100% right. I love my country, win or lose, no matter who's running it, no matter what problems we got. I'm America first, and I love my country because no other country is as great and opportunistic as this country has been. But I believe we have lost our way and taken away from the hard middle class worker who's put in 20, 30, 40 years of work and they're still looking at an apartment with no hopes of buying a $450,000 house, especially when most Americans are buried in student loan to get the jobs we worked for the last 20 years. But I did like that. Secondarily, he mentioned his infrastructure project. Now, I myself also have an infrastructure project. I think he stole mine. God bless American speed. I'll tell you that. You can't get a motorcycle any louder than that. But God bless American speed. Police officers, pull that guy over. By the way, my father is also a retired police officer, so I am a friendly man to the Fraternal Order of Police, and he's also ex-military, as I respect my troopers. So, moving on. Next up, the infrastructure project where I was speaking. As mentioned, I have one. Mine was called Make America Green. Again, and it is basically, you see the failing infrastructure, you see the failing bridges. I'm actually in a location right now that is beautiful. It's a lake around me. I wish you guys can see it. And I'm in Austin, Texas, at South by Southwest. At the moment, but there's trash everywhere. The concrete's all broken up. The things are damaged. And this is a perfect example of America right now. Something so beautiful, marred by broken glass, coffee cups. I think there's a shopping cart in the water over there in such a beautiful place. So we definitely need to reconstruct this country. And what that does with Joe Biden, it makes American jobs, it restructures the country. We're putting solar panels on, and you want to greenify the country so we can be truly energy independent. That's why our gas prices and things are going up, and with all these wars we got, only getting worse. So rebuilding the infrastructure of America is paramount to the future, and it brings high-paying, quality jobs to Americans. We want to get on that and bring back manufacturing through it as we make the new elements and maintain them for our wonderfully built new country. So I do agree with him on that. He also mentioned getting manufacturing back. Now, I don't trust Joe Biden on this because they signed NAFTA and they moved all our auto companies away. All our building place, everything's in Mexico and in Canada and in India. When I call customer service now, I talk to one of my brothers over in India or my sisters over in India. I'm not even talking to an American anymore. When I'm calling an American business, that is concerning. Those people they hire in other places have a very low cost of living. So that means the company that's here making money off of you is paying somebody a very low wage in another place, but still charging you the same price and not giving you any price relief. Be aware of that. But we do want to bring back manufacturing and fix our trade balances, which will bring more building here. I want Americans to have 20, 30, $40 jobs, unions coming back home. I want us building again like real Americans used to. I just mentioned the union situation, which I did appreciate. I don't believe him because they've been destroying unions. They've been destroying pensions for the last 30 years. I bet you got a 401k like me. You don't have a pension, do you? Nah, you don't. Because that's union kind of stuff. Your pay is probably not very satisfactory and stagnated, or they probably capped your pay, didn't they? You know, you've been there 15 years. Somebody that walks in the door yesterday makes as much as you do. Very concerning. Why does tenure not matter to these companies? Instead, they fire you and then outsource to another country and pay those people a third of what they pay you, but still charge American customers the same amount of money. Be aware of that, Americans, when you call companies and you hear a voice that doesn't sound like it's right here. Be aware of that. Let's see. Now, he mentioned he wants to increase women's heart research. Now, just in general, American health is a problem. Mostly people I know have diabetes, whatever race they are, whatever age they are. I don't understand it. My country is sick. The kids are having psychological issues all over the country. We don't have any mentality or Medicare or help for any of it. Yes, women's heart issues need help. All American sicknesses need an increase of research. Not just one thing, not just one group, all groups. Joe is pandering to women because they're the majority of the country. But hey, I might get sick one day too, Joe. No research for me. No research for prostate cancer, which many, many men suffer under. Hmm? So we'll do that. And if you don't know, in cancer statistics, outside of breast cancer, men are equally, if not more, affected by cancer. So be aware of that too when we pay attention to our wonderful ladies who definitely need to be cared for their sicknesses. Don't forget the average hard-working man who also, like my father, may get prostate cancer. I had a 24-year-old friend in Los Angeles who also got prostate cancer recently, stage 4, made it back, and then was so traumatized from him to passing away a few months later. Also, next, first-time home buyers. Now, I just noticed in California they do have great first-time home buyer programs where they will actually pay your down payment and cover closing costs for you. And if you keep the home for 7 to 10 years, you don't have to pay it back. You just pay your lease. So there are some things that are already going on in America that are positive. Sorry about that. I had a little itchy thing bite me. And so I'm going to let that go, but that's something we have to give people in the homes. But I think it's time to lower the cost of homes. I think Americans are getting ripped off. My parents paid about $30,000 for their home back in the 70s. Other people, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 in the early 70s. How is it 10 times higher? But you know what is not 10 times larger? Our salaries. So the houses cost 10 times more. The food costs 10 times more. You could buy a new car for $4,000 or $5,000 back in the 80s. Why is everything else 10 times more expensive, yet our salaries have remained stagnated since the late 1970s? Be aware of that. Where's the money going, guys? Where's the money going? I know where it's going, to the exorbitant rich who make you feel bad when you look at TikTok and the Instagram and see them buying $80,000 purses and then throwing it in the trash as though it's nothing. Be aware of that. We have to cut down on this corporate chicanery, as I tend to call it. He talked about reading programs, alternate education. Again, I don't believe this. Joe Biden will not be restructuring our education in America. I believe that's a total lie about him. I won't even entertain it. He talked about helping 4 million Americans with some of his plans. And I thought to myself, Joe Biden had 4 million Americans. Well, guys, I don't know if you know, there are 335 million Americans in this country. Doing something that only helps 4 million Americans, which sounds like a lot, is only helping about 1% of the country. So he's helping 1% of the country. You know what that number means. So I think he's questionable. He says he wants to raise teacher salaries. I don't believe that. I think maybe they'll give him another 5 or 10,000 a year, but they're not going to give him the 120,000, the 130,000 teachers deserve. Under my presidency, I will be pushing for $100,000 plus teaching salaries nationwide. I don't think any teacher that teaches full time is teaching our babies, our future, should be checking their bills. What? Let losers like me who don't do it check their bills. But if you're out there raising and fixing my babies for the future, fixing the future of America, you should have a decent salary. And in this economy, $100,000 more is really what's needed to be comfortable. Insane, right? 100,000 to be comfortable, guys. Jesus Christ. Next on that list that I had issues with here, and these are things that I did like that he said, but I know his plans behind it are nonsense. Let's see here. Raising teachers' salaries. He says he's going to tax corporations harder, but his percentage was nonsense. I believe he said he wanted to raise it to 25%, because right now they're paying 15%. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. I pay 35%. You pay 35%. It's really like 37%. We make 20, 30, 40, 50, $60,000 a year, and we're giving up 35% of our salary. But the corporate and the rich are paying 25% when they have millions. Could you imagine if they all pay 35% like we do? I think every American, regardless of financial status and corporation, because if you don't know, corporations back in the 70s are certified as being a person. So they count just like I count. Corporations also need to pay 35%, and I will stand on that until they put something right here to take me out. Like I'm one of the great men like JFK or Martin Luther King or Mr. X. You're going to have to put a bullet in the head to get me off that 35%, and that's going to be flat, across the board, rich, poor, because we're already paying it. It's time for the rich guys and the corporate guys to pick up that 35%. Imagine what that injection of money would do for this country. So that's another one. After that, he talked about price gouging bills. I just spoke of that when I told you earlier. They're still charging you the same, but they're hiring people in other countries and paying them a third to a fifth of what they pay you. And then they're charging you the same price. You would think, okay, if you're outsourcing now and you're paying so much less, then you should lower prices, right? No. The toxic capitalism in America has run amok, and price gouging is an issue, and I do agree with Joe. We need to get in this price gouging bill situation, but also make adjustments to stop it and cap certain things to make sure it happens right. He mentioned the fentanyl concern. I am 48. I remember the crack era. I don't remember Joe Biden and them being so concerned about stopping crack and hardcore cocaine. Matter of fact, Ronald Reagan sold it to us to get weapons for Iraq, the Iran-Contras, and for battles down in south of the border, which has destroyed those governments, where now you see a flooding of those same people coming up from the destruction and economic hit games we have played with them for the last 40 or 50 years. That's why there's so many people at your border playing games. Also, he mentioned something for my hippie friends, my Californians, my weirdos, I guess guys with hair like me, like Bob Marley, right? That he's going to legalize or decriminalize marijuana. I think that is good. But he did not discuss getting it off of Schedule 1. If you don't know, Schedule 1 drugs are hard drugs, like heroin, like meth, like the stuff, opium, the stuff that kills people ridiculously and barely has any medicinal value. One of the things I want to do is decriminalize, make rehab centers, which Joe did talk about, increasing mental health centers and things like that. But lastly, getting it off of Schedule 1 so colleges and universities can study these drugs that actually have medicinal value. even opium and things like that, because people take opioid pills. So clearly there's medicinal value to these items, and I think we need to get it decriminalized, get it off of Schedule 1 so colleges can study it, and we can take advantage of the positive aspects and heal those that are sick. And normally when you make something decriminalized, people don't feel the urge to do it anymore. Numbers go down when you decriminalize. They don't go up. Okay? But you put a prohibition on something, it runs them up. I just walked from my hotel late last night and I got approached by 3 drug addicts. Scared the living dates out of me. I had to pull out a stick like, buddy, back up. That's what happens when you do prohibition. Americans are struggling and it only gets worse. Next, we're looking at a temporary border shutdown. So he's trying to get the new border bill passed. You guys may have heard about it. He says it does give him things such as the ability to temporarily shut down the border if things get completely out of control. I like that. But the problem with these bills are Ukraine is attached to this bill. Israel is attached to this bill. So yeah, they're going to fix the border, try to get things under control. But Joe Biden doesn't want to stop the influx. Joe Biden wants to get a few more billion to get more judges and more workers to legalize people that are coming from other countries faster. Mind you, the average American cannot handle a $400 emergency. The average American, if they lose their job, will be homeless in 2 to 6 weeks. Am I lying? Right? But let's get some other people in here. So I'm a little concerned about that he's more anxious to bring in new people and not take care of the 335 million of us that are already here, working and paying taxes. And you've heard about the crisis, as they call it. He says it's not a crisis. Kamala says it's not a crisis. AOC says it. AOC, of all people, says it's not a crisis. I mean, if it was up to me, I'd jail them all, but whatever, right? But let's continue. Yes. He also mentioned the Palestine and Israel situation. Now, I know if you guys may or may not know, I believe 1,400 of my J Bros were attacked on October 7th, which was a traumatic day. But if you do or do not know, this war has been going on for 100 years, starting way back in the early, I believe, 20s or 40s with the Nakba, when my J Bro brothers made their way down to what they consider their homeland in Palestine and decided to start this process. So it's actually been way more of this on both sides happening for almost 100 years, guys. 100-year war. Pay attention to that. And if you do or do not know, we've lost 30,000 Palestinians since October 7th. 1,400 versus 30,000. Now, I don't know if you guys remember 9/11. We lost 3,000 Americans in 9/11. We went to Iraq and Iran for these wars, and we killed 1 million people. 3,000 killed 1 million. 1,400 J-Bros, 30,000 dead, which I believe 60% are women and children. Innocent women and children. Gotta stop that. Ceasefire now. And my opinion is cut off the money, the ceasefire will come. Now, he did mention one great thing, that he does support a two-state solution, even though he's made no effort to get it done. He's just going to keep sending Netanyahu all the money he wants. But his solution to this is keep sending Netanyahu the money, but we're going to build a platform out on the ocean, which is probably going to cost us another $4 or $5 billion, so we can fly in supplies. So we're paying to drop bombs on people, and the money comes to our U.S. contractors. So we're actually doing a money grift. Yes, it's a laundering scheme to bring money to America. So, Boeing and all the guys that make missiles and stuff, that $100 billion you hear about going to Ukraine, that $100 billion that you hear going to Israel, it actually comes back here to Boeing and all the bomb makers, and that's who gets the money. But do they give any of it to you? Do they raise your pay? Do they let you benefit? I personally think the average American should benefit from the war pact. I think Americans are like, well, if we're going to do this, can we at least get some money too? But that's my opinion, but I prefer ceasefires and ending all non-UN certified wars, and I'm really sick of NATO. NATO's just a bunch of bullies to me. A bunch of the rich guy countries with their big old armies running around bullying 200 or 300 other countries like their children. I don't like the sanctions, and I don't like the mess. I'm done with NATO, by the way. Done with NATO. UN strictly should make all these decisions, not NATO. Lastly, let's see what else we got here. We talked about making protections on the internet for people. I believe we need an internet bill of rights. I've spoken about this in my previous videos that I made in my last run back in 2020. And you can check those out on my Call for President Anthony YouTube page, and check out all my videos explaining my approach on the economy and everything that we need to do, international, domestic policy, everything we need to do. So most of this is a rehashing, and I am going to make a new set of videos rehashing everything so I can have some fresh new stuff for you guys to hear that is modified from my previous 4 years of running. He also mentioned he would end cancer. That's a flat out lie. That is a flat out lie. I hate to say it, guys. We will never end cancer. We can only control it. I guess cancer is like Michael Jordan. You can't stop him. You can only help to contain him. And we have to make sure people are healthy, have the services where needed, and doing things like increasing pay and getting the balance of money back will take out the stress that activates your cancer cells. Because if you do not know, every human alive has cancer cells, and certain things around you, your society, and in your environment, they activate said cancer cells. Something bit me, guys. Anyway, I'm in nature, and it's a beautiful thing. Lastly, he mentioned a good career review. Now, I'll give him this. Joe Biden's career review at the end of his talk was fantastic. I'm not even going to lie. I don't like the guy. I can't stand his policies. I think he's shady. But man, he really nailed us with hanging with everybody and being with the brothers and the sisters and hanging with Barack and bringing in Kamala. I'm like, man, I can't fight this. Jesus. So I'm going to give you props on that, Joe. That was a great move by you at the end of the talk. And it's really hard to shake a stick out. So I'm going to say Joe like as well. And that is the end of my likes portion for this State of the Union address. Uh-oh. Here's one of my gaffes. Maybe I'm losing my mind too, right? I wish I had like a cup of water up here like the rich guys get, but I don't have any minions to provide me said things, and I think it's foolish of me to keep walking back and forth in my talk. Now, my dislikes. He started off with Ukraine. I'll just call that a bunch of crap. It's all lies. I'm cutting Ukraine off. I'm sick of this war. They're not going to win it. They're never going to beat Russia. They have 5,000 nuclear weapons. They have all the oil and space and land they want. Ukraine will never beat Russia. Ukraine is the Cuban Missile Crisis of Russia. We brought Ukraine and everybody else into NATO so we can put missiles on Russia's border. That's what this is about. This is also about the fight for Crimea, which we've been fighting over for the last 20 years. Barack had to deal with it. Trump had to deal with it. There's a port in Crimea that is one of the biggest trading ports in the area, and there's pipelines all in that area, and that's what this war is really about. It is not about the democracy of Ukraine. That is 100% a lie. Don't believe it. He's lying to your face with that. You should feel insulted. Cut off the money, Ukraine. I'm not going further than that. This Russian situation. I'm really getting sick of the McCarthyism. I'm really getting sick of the Cold War. Oh my God, I think that was a fish. That was beautiful. I wish you guys could have seen it. I don't think Russia is trying to take over the world. Russia wants to be left alone like everybody else. And us throwing sanctions on them, throwing sanctions on China, throwing sanctions on other countries created BRICS. And you guys all know what BRICS is. That's a group of guys that are using a different currency outside of ours because we keep sanctioning people and we're weaponizing the American dollar, therefore ruining its value and therefore making it a problem, and they're switching off of it. And if we do this too much, we will lose world currency status and we will go into super inflation. You think your bread and milk is expensive now? Wait until we lose world currency status. You're going to be paying $50 for milk, $150 a gallon for gas. I'm not joking. I am not joking. It will turn our dollar into mere pennies. It will become like pesos or like yen. Pay attention to this BRICS. Pay attention to the sanctions. We're weaponizing the dollar, making it a weapon, and it should not be. Do not politicize your money. And you won't be politicizing it with me. NATO, I mentioned it earlier. He's excited about NATO. Again, a bunch of gangbangers using their money and weapons to bully other countries via sanctions and bombs. I'm sick of it. Done with NATO. We're getting out as far as I'm concerned. Matter of fact, I want to shut them down. I think the United Nations should be making all world decisions, rules, laws. And why? For example, the United Nations just brought Israel up on potential genocide issues. Well, they're just blowing it off like it doesn't matter because NATO doesn't have a problem with it. How are you usurping the UN? How are you usurping 300 other countries' call? Pay attention to that when you hear about NATO. Very disrespectful. January 6th, when my frustrated fellow Americans just acted a fool and basically raided, Congress just to act stupid. They had no purpose. They weren't trying to turn over the country. I hope to God none of them actually thought they were going to change the election results. They're not changing the guys. They will never change the results. So that was just the foolish thing. To me, it was like a bunch of drunk college kids just got a little too rowdy and busted down the doors. So I'm not really worried about that. I think they were misled, and you guys can deal with that dealing with Trump. Nobody's taking over our country. Period. Nonsense. Bunch of party animals. That's all I see. Bunch of party animals. So I want you to ignore that January 6th talk. That's nonsense. Now I will tell you something. He talked about Roe versus Wade, the abortion issue, and I am split. Because true, women nationally should be able to make the decision to stop or move forward with a pregnancy. But I also respect states' rights. And what states' rights are is, you know how in different states we have different ages for maybe driving or drinking or going to clubs, or different laws and rules for weaponry, Second Amendment rules, and everything, right? Well, that's the state's right. And I think the people of that state should make that decision. Have a vote on it. I don't say ban it. I don't say crush it. And I definitely say you can even reactivate. But I think we should let the American people in their home state decide what they want to be legal and what they want to not be illegal. I'm 48, guys. I remember when I could travel to other states just to simply do different things, and it's totally fine. And then come back home. That's beautiful, man. Places like Utah ban alcohol over a certain percentage because they think it's dangerous. So you can only get very low percentage alcohol in Utah because it's a very Mormon state. States' rights. I have a bit of a sore throat too, guys, but I'm going to fight through it. Let's see what else we got here on my dislikes list. We talked about the abortion issue. I believe that's a state right scenario. Let each state take a vote, make a call on what you want to do with it. And if there is an issue, I will help. I will help with national programs for people whose states have made it illegal. We got to develop some kind of national travel program so people that are stuck in a state that does not allow abortion, we should be able to help them, subsidize them, at least being able to go to another state, get whatever they need to get done, come back at home. So I do support that support for at least helping people whose states have decided it was illegal to go somewhere and still be able to get things done the way they want to live their free life. Right? What else we got here? He says he claimed that Donald Trump did not care or want to do anything when C-19 came about. I disagree. I think they both handle it exactly the same way. Whatever Trump did is the same thing Biden would have did. And whatever Biden did is the same thing Trump would have did. The difference between them is Joe would have said it in a more nice, respectful way because he's a savvy, veteran politician. Trump ain't no politician in him. He's basically just some dude that walk. God, is he me? Well, I care. I'm a politician as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, Trump is, man, he's a funny guy. And I don't want a funny guy running my country. You know what I'm saying? I don't think, well, anyway, we'll leave it at that. This is not about Trump. This is about Biden and his State of the Union address. Oh, my voice is kind of whack like that. I think I may be losing it a little like Joe. But again, my throat is very dry and a bit sore from this talking. Let's see what else we got going on here. He talked about available jobs. He said there are more jobs out there. Now, I don't know about you, America. There have been jobs available. Every store I have passed since the pandemic has a for hire sign in the window. I don't even think we need more jobs. We need to pay better at the jobs that are available. That's the problem. People are out there working 2, 3, 4 jobs just to get by because the pay is so low. So all this, we put more jobs, more part-time jobs for people to work 2, 3 jobs has been created. That's a total BS lie and exaggeration by Joe Biden. Ignore it. He's lying to your face. Do not take that disrespect from Mr. Biden. That's just a whole bunch of chutzpah, as some of my J-Bros may call it in their free time. Let's see what else we got here. Now, you notice inflation was about 9%, and he says it's down to 3% now. That's great. But it was 9% or 10% for the last 2 to 4 years. Did your salary go up 10% every year? But the prices did, right? And now that inflation is back down to 3%, do you think they're going to drop the prices back down? Be aware of that scam. That's another scam Joe Biden is running on you with his corporate funds that are robbing us blind to our faces and then telling us about it. It's insulting to me. I don't know if it's insulting to you Americans. It is insulting to me. I feel so disrespected when that happens. This is what made me run for president in the first place. Next, he talked about the ACA, the American Care Act, which, Obamacare. I don't like Obamacare because it helps private companies. It's cutting us off from properly negotiating our medicine, and it does not cover every single American. I believe we need Medicare for all Americans, same plans that Congress and all of them have. End of discussion. Medicare for all, another situation, and I'll take a bullet in the head first before I back off it. Medicare for all Americans, single payer. We need it. I demand it. I require it. This I demand. Next, the corporate tax. I mentioned this earlier. He's taking it from 15 to 20-something%. Again, corporations, you're going to pay 35% just like I do. End of discussion. Corporations are considered a person. I think I'm considered a person, and everybody watching this is considered a person. Why do they only pay 15%? No, we all should pay the same thing. Flat tax rate, countrywide, 35%. Not for discussion. Put something right here before I give up on it. I'm talking to you, military. I don't know. I got a sniper working on me now. Because if you guys don't know, I am on the NSA FBI watch list for trying to be your president, even though I'm a man who's never been to jail, never did a crime, never done anything wrong yet. They're watching me. Anyway, that's a whole other thing. We'll talk about that after I'm in office. Some wild stuff they're doing to me, by the way, guys. Also, make sure you like, share, and subscribe these videos because they throttle all my social media. They don't let me get any followers. They don't let people watch videos. And then when people actually watch my videos and hear what I have to say, they love it. They love everything I have to say. I'm basically the dark version of RFK Jr. And shout out to RFK Jr. I like what that man has to say, but he is a Kennedy. That's like being a Clinton or a Bush, guys. He sounds good, but I like what he's saying, but he is a Kennedy, so I'm very concerned that he may have a bubble issue going on also. But what he's talking is true. He's being very honest about America and saying a lot of stuff I say. I even hit him up like, man, I might need to be your vice president because this guy is taking my thunder. But we'll deal with that as hopefully RFK is here. And RFK is actually down here in Austin with me right now. Be nice if he sent me an email, brought me in, and had a talk. So we're getting close to the end of my dislikes. The border situation, I already mentioned it to you. We need to definitely handle that. I don't believe in a physical wall. I think that's foolish. And I'm going to tell you why. You can always build under, get around, squeeze through, and cut out a wall. I believe we need a digital wall. With an influx of the money that we get for ICE in our border patrol, we should use it to make drones and have an electronic fence, and not one that electrocutes people. No, an electronic fence that anybody comes through. There should be infrared scanners, cameras, drones flying back and forth. And the minute they recognize an illegal crossing, they mark them. We send the agents there. They pick them up. Problem solved. That's how you fix the border, not by building some concrete wall. That's not going to do it. Cute, looks good, not realistic. Not going to stop the problem. People will come over on trains if they feel like it. Let's see what else we got going on here on the wall. The border situation. But I do like the money that they want to send to the border, guys. I think we need more agents, but I think the agents should be set up for a digital department who monitors the border digitally. I thought I heard somebody sneaking up on me. I thought the government was coming to get me. I'm like, man, they're really on you, brother. But we'll check with that. But that's what I believe we need, a digital wall for the border. What else we got here? He talked about dealing with a Voting Rights Act. A Voting Rights Act? I just voted a couple days ago. Anybody else here vote? Did you have a problem voting? Did they tell you weren't allowed to vote? I didn't even have to show my ID. I just gave them my name and address. Voting Rights Act. Is there somebody standing there with an M16 who won't let you vote? This Voting Rights Act, another lie, crap, BS by Joe Biden. Don't believe it. It's pure garbage. You can all vote anytime you want. And matter of fact, 40 to 60% of Americans can vote and don't. Every presidency, because we are so apathetic to this scenario. And I think it's insulting to talk about a Voting Rights Act when we can all vote, no problem. I'm concerned that the purpose of that Voting Rights Act is all of our new friends that are coming across the border, our asylum friends, our migrant friends. He wants them to vote. Don't get me started. Anyway, wow, right? He also mentioned police reform. He said he wants more police on the street. Like that's going to fix the problem. No, 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 no. We're doing a police reform, but my plan is called fire, rehire, and retrain. I believe that in rotation, over a year's time, we should fire 10% of every police department, local and national, make them reapply for the job under stricter requirements, such as being more local and being from the area, because I don't think people from outside the area should police an area they don't know, because they're going to make strange decisions in fear. So we need to do that and retrain, fire, rehire, retrain all police officers nationwide on all levels, and do it in a rotation of about 10%, so we still got guys on the street as we rotate them out. Eventually, similar to the swamp draining of Congress that is needed, we can have that swamp draining of a police department that has a lot of bad apples making terrible decisions and hurting Americans. So that's how we'll fix police reform. No, we don't need more cops. Trust me, I'm from Philly. Frank Rizzo put more cops on the street. All it did was cause more police atrocity. We don't want that. We don't need that. And thank God for me wanting something different. And I know you want something different. He talked about putting a ban on assault weapons. Guys, guns don't kill people. People kill people. Why don't we address why those people want to hurt people like that? Where's the education? Where's the mental health care? Where's the job opportunity? One thing I learned in this life is idle hands do the devil's work. And the people that are doing these terrible shootings, making these injuries, those are idle hands. And they're bored. And they're thinking of crazy reasons to hurt fellow Americans. There has to be a mental issue there. That's why we need Medicare for all, to get easy mental health care to every American when necessary, not when they can afford it. I fall back. So that's what we're going to do with that. We're almost to the end of my dislikes. Let's see what else we got here. But we're not banning any weapons. I'm a Second Amendment guy to the end. There's a reason we made it so large governments, just like Germany, can't punk us. Because once they get rid of assault weapons and large ammo clips, the government, even though I'm sure they would never do such a thing, right? But let's just say they never will. The government could have police officers just bully you. What are you going to fight the military with? A pea shooter? Your hunting rifle? Why do you think you got all these guys with the militias out there? Those guys are paranoid. It's not because they want to take over America or hurt other Americans. They think the government is going to come run us through one day once they get everything out of our hands, just like the Germans did to our jailbirds, who we are protecting right now in Israel. So remember that. Let's not become like the Fifth Reich. It sounds like some Fifth Reich stuff. I call it the Fifth Reich. We're not going to be the Fifth Reich around here. Not of my time. I love the fact that Americans have guns. I think it's freaking beautiful. I wish somebody would come outside right now and fire a couple shots over my head just to let me know it's real. That's America. We're not getting rid of any of our guns. That's nonsense. And we're not starting the Fifth Reich anytime soon. So that's that. Lastly, I mentioned it. How do we pay for bombs and then pay to send help to the people we bomb? We're getting it on both ends. But once again, he told you the money that's going out for this is coming back to American contractors. But are any of you Americans seeing the money? Anybody's salary going up? So I have a real issue with that, and I think Americans should get a war bond or a war pact. If they're going to spend money like this on wars beyond our control, every American should get $1,000 check every time they do something like that. If they're going to spend $1 billion, $100 billion, and it goes to some, every American gets a check, at least to calm us down, right? But anyway, but I want to get out of all non-UN certified wars, cut back on the wars, and use that money to fix my country for my infrastructure project. She said, Carl, will you get the money for your infrastructure project? We're cutting back on the wars, bringing that money back home, 35% tax flat across the board for rich and all certified. Shout out to the people over there saving lives. And that's the money I'm going to use for any program you ever hear me speak about. You know, that is trillions and trillions of dollars. By the way, it only costs about $30 billion to stop all homelessness in America. Be aware that next time you hear the government say, I'm sending $50 billion somewhere, I'm sending $100 billion somewhere. It only costs $30 billion to stop all homelessness in America. $30 billion to stop all homelessness in America. So next time you hear them say I'm sending a 50, $100 billion somewhere, say, hey, why don't you stop all homelessness and poverty right quick, and then send the money, right? Why are they not doing it? Pay attention to that, my loves. And I believe that is the end of my dislikes. Okay, so here's the last part. What he left out. And these are some of my biggest things. I got 4 things that Joe left out. He did not speak on the military cutbacks like I did. The cutting back on war. Cutting back on non-UN certified conflict. This NATO situation, all of it needs to stop. I'm sick of it. You're sick of it. We're sick of it. And we don't even benefit from it. It makes me twice as sick of it. One thing that he left out. Thing number 2, as an African American who is the descendant of slaves, my grandparents were sharecroppers. My great-grandparents were the first set of sharecroppers after my great-great-grandparents who were slaves. I am the direct product of South Carolina slaves. My last name, Anthony, is French. Do I look French? Reparations now. Now the question, I don't want it first term. I want it second term because I got to fix that economy for my Americans first. And then we'll worry about reparations second term for my African American brothers and sisters. He breezed right over HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities. He actually cut the money that Trump was going to give to a lower amount, but then he's acting like he cares about HBCUs. He breezed right by that. I was like, no, I like what Trump did. We need to increase the money going to HBCUs to make them competitive with schools that have had a 100-year start. And I'm disgusted that Joe Biden breezed over that, like HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities don't matter. I went to Hampton University, one of the best HBCUs, and you see what it's produced. Get them their money. Lastly, we got to get money out of politics, guys. One of the things I want to shoot for, and they're probably going to put one right there over it when I bring it up, is I want to change all the salaries for Congress, mayors, and everything. I think they should make an average salary. The average American makes about $55,000. I think all political positions in America should only pay $55,000. Because if you're making the same amount that every other American is making, I bet your policies will change real fast, won't they? I bet if you have to have the same Medicare we had, you make the same money we had, you had to buy a house the same way we did, all your policies will change real fast. And that's one of the things I'm going to do. We're getting money out of politics. Now I want to cap government salaries for positions of political power. So about $55,000, $60,000. It should match the average American salary because that's the result of their policies. So that's what they should make. Shouldn't be walking around with 100 million, 200 million, 200,000, $500,000 jobs. The president only makes 400,000, and I think that's too much to tell you the truth, because he don't pay for nothing. Give him $55,000 too. That's my attitude. And that is the end of my response to the statement of use. You guys heard everything I had to say. I love you guys as fellow Americans. I really want us one day to decide to stop playing games with both of these major parties. Neither of them really love you guys. Please go out and check out independents. Give new people a chance so we can get some name recognition. I don't need to win this year. I'm going to live for a very long time. Put me in 2032 as far as I'm concerned. But support people you really believe in. Don't just pick your favorite team so you can be like, oh, well, I picked the winning team. I'm with the popular cool kids. Don't do that. You're an American. Uh-oh, that's my Joe Biden call. You are free. And I just want to close with Carl Anthony for President, 2024 and beyond. And I just want to say, may God bless you. May whoever your God is bless you. And may it all bless America. I'm out.